talk a lot about coffee on my channel because it's pretty amazing. But there is actually a time and a place for having coffee, and there is a time when you should never have coffee. I'm going to be sharing the details of exactly when you should never be having coffee in today's video. Alright guys, if you don't know who I am, my name's Autumn and I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition and human performance. On my channel, I'm typically nerding out with you on science-backed ways that you can feel your best and achieve your wellness goals. And today we are talking about coffee. I was just at the YouTube studio space today and they gave me this cup. It's like they just get me. So this topic came up the other day when I was in a meeting with one of my clients. In fact, this topic actually comes up with a lot of my clients because a lot of my clients love coffee just as I do. But one of my clients was asking me, hey Autumn, is there like a time when I shouldn't be having coffee? And of course, other than the typical type of answer, you know, not after 2 or 12 p.m. if you're caffeine sensitive and not having too many cups in a day. And I had to think about this one. And I realized that there is a worse time to have coffee, and it's when you're tired. This might seem counterintuitive to you because you probably right now are using coffee to wake you up in the morning. Most people are, but in fact, this is actually the worst time to be using coffee. And don't worry, I'm going to be explaining all this. Let me just set the stage for you here. Let's start off in the morning after a poor night's sleep. Here's what's going on in your body. You're going to have increased levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Reason why is because you didn't have enough energy from being able to get enough sleep the night before, so your body's trying to pump up cortisol so that you can at least get through your day. So that means you're going to be more stressed anyway, which results in feeling more irritable or even spiking some anxiety. I talk a lot about how sleep is tied to anxiety in multiple videos. I'll link them down below. As a result of this increased cortisol level, remember that stress hormone, you're also going to have a reduced immune system. So that's why you often see people who are chronically getting poor sleep often have a lot of sick days. Now there's a whole science behind why this happens, but basically the Cliff Notes version is because when you sleep, your body's actually regenerating cells. And if you don't allow for the full time in order to regenerate those cells, then your immune cells will suffer as well. Plus, when you increase the stress hormone, it's also going to suppress your immune system anyway. Because increasing the stress hormone increases fight or flight response, it means that it's going to be shuttling that blood flow away from those non-necessary organs and systems at that time. And if your body thinks it's in a stressful situation where it needs to like run away from a tiger, then it's not going to prioritize digestion or your immune system at that time. Because fighting off a bacterial infection doesn't really take priority over fighting off something that could like eat you in a second. So with this increased fight or flight response, you have a decreased immune system as well as digestion issues. So maybe you've noticed this before when you get poor sleep and you wake up the next morning and you feel more bloated, maybe your stomach hurts or just feels like things aren't moving. Maybe you even have issues with constipation, which I also have a video on right here. Many people's first instinct when you're feeling tired is to reach for a cup of coffee in order to give you that boost. Now, like I mentioned, this is the worst thing you could do because all you're doing in this moment is spiking your cortisol levels even further. And remember, as a result of having that poor sleep the night before, you're already increasing cortisol the next day. So you're going to be in pretty high levels of cortisol. Talked about cortisol so much on my channel, but one thing that can result with cortisol is those spikes and falls in blood glucose level. Those spikes and falls are also highly tied to anxiety attacks and craving sugary types of processed foods. So the last thing you want to do here is spike your cortisol even further. Even though it feels like the right thing to do in the moment, it's actually going to affect your long-term goals. Plus, if you are drinking coffee because you're tired, that's going to wear off pretty soon, which means that you're going to be reaching for another coffee in order to make yourself still have that same energy, which by the way, it's still not going to be very efficient energy. So it's something that's not really even going to help you in the first place. And as a result of continually having that caffeine, you're likely going to be going past the point of when that caffeine is okay to have, which will disrupt your sleep and then just continue the cycle. So you can see how if you're using coffee as a crutch rather than something that you enjoy after already getting some great sleep, then it's not going to help your wellness goals. It's not going to make you feel energized long term. It's not going to help you get great sleep the next night. It's just going to cause you to feel more stressed out, have more of those spikes and falls in blood glucose levels, and just not feel very good. And if you're prone to anxiety, stacking poor sleep on top of increased cortisol levels from already having high cortisol from poor sleep and topping it off with more caffeine, that's just going to spur a full-blown panic attack. So the best time to have coffee is after you've already had a great night's sleep. Otherwise, you can cascade with those problems that I mentioned earlier. Just make sure that you're actually enjoying your coffee. You're not using it as a crutch, but you're using it as something to actually enjoy as part of your morning. So if you're wondering what you can actually do instead of having that caffeine fix as your crutch, if you do happen to get a night of poor sleep, there are a couple of really simple strategies that you can use. First of all is to make sure that you are immediately exposed to bright light, bright natural light. This is a tactic that's often used to help cure jet lag. And although it doesn't provide that same kick that caffeine does, it also won't make it so that you're going to crash later on. So getting outside first thing as soon as possible is going to help to make it so that you feel a little bit more energized re-energized throughout the day after having a night where you don't get great sleep. Now, I have a lot of other really great strategies that you can check out on how to improve your sleep in general so you don't come across this problem. So I highly recommend that you check out this video next for those strategies on what you can do to get amazing sleep. Also, if you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe to my channel right here and turn on the notification bell. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Alright guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.